A New York Times journalist followed an insurgent cell in Syria who tried to force a kidnapped man into becoming a suicide bomber. Footage shows the insurgents, or as Clinton likes to call them, freedom fighters, occupying a home in the outskirts of Aleppo and going through personal belongings, including family photos. We can only imagine the circumstances under which the owners of the home were forced to leave everything behind. We are then shown footage of a prisoner, a severely beaten young man who was kidnapped by this insurgent cell. According to the insurgents themselves, under torture, he has confessed to being a regime supporter, a taste of the new and improved free Syria that NATO want to create. And if that war crime wasn't bad enough, they then convinced him that he was going to be released as part of a prisoner exchange. All he needed to do was drive a truck to a military checkpoint to safety. But in fact, they had booby-trapped the truck with explosives, which they intended to trigger remotely. Thanks to God's mercy, the trigger did not work.
Fighters intend to detonate it remotely when he approaches the checkpoint. He's being tricked into being an unwitting suicide bomber. But the fighters return disappointed. When they pressed the detonator, the bomb failed to explode.
At first, the BBC took down the story from their website, but then put it back minus the footage. More than likely, they had realized it had already spread and felt better to leave their own whitewashed version of the event. This is not the first time they had tried to force a kidnapped person to become a suicide bomber. But in one case, the strategy had blown up in their face when the brave man decided to take their lives with him. During the Iraq War, it was common that innocent people had explosives placed into the trunk of their car, which was sometimes discovered before it was remotely triggered. This is how many times a marketplace, mosque or church was bombed as part of the US and UK strategy to create a sectarian war inside Iraq and blacken the name of the Iraqi resistance. Sometimes they will use their own agents dressed up as Arabs. But of course, it is always better for them to distance themselves from the bombings by actually using a patsy who calls himself Al-Qaeda.